What's up YouTube, Papa Snorlax here. This week at Locals, my purple-white Tekkadan control deck took first place. We had 6 players, including myself, so we only ended up playing 2 official rounds. After I won both of my matches, the down-paired player lost their final round, which secured first place for me with a 2-0 record. I also played 2 friendly matches afterward against the remaining decks, finishing the day with an overall record of 3-1. Before we break down the matches, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell to support the channel and stay up to date with Gundam Roulette's deck profiles and more Gundam TCG content. My first match was against a Zeon Rush deck. I was able to establish control of the board fairly quickly and destroy several of the units with GN Armor Type E. Once I slowed down their aggression, I maintained the advantage and closed out the game with Hyakurin and 2 Ale Strikes on the field, swinging in for the win. My second match was against Neo Zeong Green-Red Ramp, and this deck definitely gave me a run for my money. I managed to bring my opponent down to 3 shields, but they started answering my board with a linked Wing Gundam, followed by Wing Zero, and then a Neo Zeon. They were quickly beginning to take control of the match, and it all came down to my next draw. Luckily, I found the link I needed, allowing Ale Strike to make the final attack and secure the game. With that victory, I finished the official rounds undefeated and took first place. After the tournament, I played a friendly match against Red-Green Curios. This was the match where the deck really started doing what I originally envisioned when I built it. I used Unicorn Awaken paired with Unforeseen, followed by GN Armor Type E to destroy enemy units and reduce the AP of anything that remained. That allowed me to attack into their weakened units and completely control the board. It was incredibly satisfying to see the deck's removal and negative AP strategies working together exactly as intended. My final match of the day was against Red-White Neo Zeong, and this was easily one of the toughest games. We went back and forth throughout the match, and I was able to make some strong plays. At one point, I dropped Barbados Lupus and cleared nearly half of my opponent's field. Unfortunately, they were able to rebuild their board on the following turn, while my deck began to run out of steam. I couldn't find enough follow-up plays to regain control, resulting in my first and only loss of the day. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed playing this deck. It rewards careful decision making because you constantly have to consider how you want to handle your opponent's units. Sometimes you're attacking into them to set up future Barbados Lupus play, while other items you're focusing on reducing their AP and controlling the board through effects. Even though the deck has 2 different control strategies, they never felt like they were working against each other. I was able to switch between them on the fly, depending on the matchup and the state of the board. This is definitely a deck I could see myself playing again. With that being said, we have a GDO 5 launch event coming up this week, so let's see what I'll be bringing it to Locals in 2 weeks. So with that, it's time for Gundam Roulette! Alright, so we only got 2 color combinations left before I gotta do a complete reset of the roulette. So let's see what I'll be building with the updates from GDO 5. Alright, I'll be running red-green. Alright, so for now I'm planning on running Londo Ramp. This is a very green heavy deck, but I'll have about 2 weeks to playtest it alongside a few other builds before the next Locals I plan to attend. There are still a few ratios I may adjust, but this is the version I'm starting with. Beginning with the units, we're running 4 copies of Gundam Age 1 Normal. This helps us build up our EX resources while also discarding Lano Bell units into the trash, which is important for activating several of our effects later in the game. Next we have 4 copies of Kara's Re-Jeezy, our first Lano Bell unit. For anyone familiar with Magic the Gathering, its effect essentially allows us to scry 1, helping us filter the top of our deck and improve our upcoming draws. Next we're running 4 copies of Gundam Age 1 Flat as a low-cost attacker and an additional link target for Flit Asuna. Our next Lano Bell unit is the level 4 Re-Jeezy. When it's destroyed, we can look at the top cards of our deck and add another Lano Bell unit to our hand. This helps us maintain card advantage and continue building toward our late game plays. We're then running 4 copies of the level 5 New Gundam. As long as we have 2 or more Lano Bell cards in our trash, its deploy effect allows us to place an additional EX resource. This is another one of the deck's most important ramp tools and helps us reach our larger units and commands much faster. Next we have 3 copies of the level 7 New Gundam. When paired with Amuro Ray, this unit can help clean up the opponent's board while also using Breach to pressure their shields. Rounding out the units, I'm running 3 copies of Wing Gundam Zero. Wing Zero gives us another powerful board clearing option and provides a way to push damage through blockers once the game reaches its later stages. Moving on to the pilots, I'm running 2 copies of Flit Asuna. Flit can link with any of our 8 Age units, and once he's linked, he allows us to look at the top 3 cards of our deck and add an Earth Federation unit to our hand. Since both the Age and Lano Bell units in this deck are all Earth Federation trait, he has plenty of potential targets. We're then running 2 copies of Karasu. She gives us an additional pilot option for our Lano Bell units that don't specifically need Amuro Ray. And of course, We're also running 4 copies of the man himself, this time in green, Amuro Ray. This version of Amuro has an effect that works with any unit it's equipped to, which gives us a lot of flexibility. During my turn, whenever the unit destroys an enemy unit with battle damage, that unit heals 2 damage. I'll primarily be looking to pair him with New Gundam, but being able to use him with another Londo Bell unit or even Wing Gundam Zero can help keep our larger threats alive and make them more difficult for the opponent to remove. Moving into the commands, I'm running 4 copies of Airframe Seizure as a pseudo version of Overflowing Affection. After some early playtesting, I will say that I currently prefer Overflowing Affection. Having to discard a card from your hand first means you really need to plan your play carefully. You may not draw into what you need, and the card you discard could end up being more valuable than what you draw into. That being said, I still want to give Airframe Seizure more testing before making a final decision. Next, we're running 4 copies of First Contact. My buddy and I are really starting to love this card. I know we received a new version that can return a pilot, but I like that First Contact has a burst effect. I'm running it alongside the H cards to help quickly build our EX resources to reach New Gundam, Wing Gundam Zero, and our big command card, which I'll show shortly. Before we get into the big command card, I'm also running 2 copies of Encounter to help search for whichever pilot I need depending on the situation. Alright, now we get to the big hitter that I'm really excited to test. I'm running 2 copies of Interwoven Blessings. I've already seen how quickly this ramp strategy can reach 10 or more resources, so this card feels like a strong late game payoff. It allows us to remove 2 cards from the opponent's shield area, and if the game is already close to ending, that could be the final push we need to secure the victory. Lastly, to finish off the deck, we're running 4 copies of the Diva base. Once we reach level 7 or higher, Diva gives all our Earth Federation units an additional AP during our turn. Since nearly every unit in the deck has the Earth Federation trait, this can turn the entire board into a much bigger offensive threat. As I mentioned earlier, I'm still playtesting the deck and trying to determine which variation feels best for me. I really like how the new Londo Bell cards work alongside the H package, but I'll have plenty of time over the next 2 weeks to adjust the ratios and figure out the final build I want to take to locals. I'll continue providing updates as I test the deck and get more experience with the GDO5 cards. I also still plan on putting together a full overview of the set, but I've decided to move that video until after the official launch. That will give me a chance to see how these cards actually perform instead of only reviewing them in theory. I've also been pretty busy balancing work and family, so pushing it back will allow me to give the set the attention it deserves. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video and this week's Gundam Roulette build. Let me know what you think of Londo Ramp and what changes you would make to the deck down in the comments. I'm Papa Snorlax, and thanks for watching.